He never made more than $350,000 a year in his career, but he became a billionaire after building a fast food empire. In February, Forbes magazine listed Bridgman's net worth as more than $1.4 billion. More on the outstanding legacy of Junior Bridgman this afternoon. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Many of the 39 BLM grassroots chapters across the nation are participating in this honoring of the memory of Breonna Taylor on the anniversary of her death. This BLMLA event is taking place on Sunday, March 16th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Norman Houston Park, 4800 South La Brea in Los Angeles, the park at the summit. For special parking options and more information, visit blmla.org or go to BLM Los Angeles on Instagram. Say her name, Breonna Taylor, and join us in loving on Black women. Happy Women's History Month from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm delighted to have you with us in this hour and look forward to the conversation, two conversations, in fact, in this hour on the B side of this hour. Conversation, let that ride, Miles. B side of this conversation, B side of this hour, I should say, a conversation with the Senior Vice President of Programming at Radio 1 and Reach America, Reach Media, Colby Tyner, talking about Urban One's new podcast, Altadena After the Fire, chronicling the aftermath and Altadena's determination to rise from the ashes. We'll do that on the B side of this hour. We will commence this hour in a moment in conversation with First Amendment Coalition Legal Director David Loy with a warning about the future of free speech in America in light of the Trump administration's arrest and detainment, and if they have their way, deportation of Columbia University protester Mahmoud Khalil. Miles just happened to play this song, though, Flashlight. We all know the song, love this track. I don't know if you saw the story yesterday that George Clinton is suing for $100 million over basically the rights to his music. You recall Prince years ago with the word slave etched in his beard. He had all those hits, but Warner Brothers owned all the masters. You've seen other artists do the same thing. Anita Baker, after 30 plus years of fighting, finally got the rights to her music back. And so George Clinton just announced literally yesterday a $100 million lawsuit to get the rights to his catalog back. Want to take a guess, Miles, who his lawyer is? Just a wild guess.
Everybody's lawyer. Get your money himself. Ben Crump, baby.
Yeah, Ben Crump's on the case. Ben Crump and and George Clinton are going at it now to get George's money back and get his catalog back. $100 million lawsuit filed just yesterday. I digress on that for now. David Loy, good to have you on this program. How are you today, sir?
Good, and thank you for having me.
It's my great honor to have you. Let me jump right in and make the most of the time we have. I'm going to spend the first few minutes here. I have done this earlier in today's program. I did it yesterday, teeing up our conversation today. But for those who've not been following this story in detail, we're going to press in a moment toward the fear when it comes to free speech in the future. But for those who've not been following this case, specifically the case of Mahmoud Khalil, just take a few minutes right quick to just set the frame, and then we'll jump from there, sir.
So, Indiana, there's litigation right now in federal court in New York to seek to have him released and transferred back to New York. But for all appearances, the government has not been clear as to what the alleged ground of his detention and removal proceedings is. To all appearances, it looks a lot like they just don't like what he has to say. And that is, if that's what's going on, that would be a clear First Amendment violation. The government does not have the right to, arrest you, sweep you off the street, throw you in a cage because it doesn't like what you have to say.
Let me ask this question, not out of any naivete, but how is it that the Trump administration is getting away with this at the moment? We just had an hour conversation before you came on, David, about the way that Trump is getting away with all these federal layoffs. The Department of Education today, for those who may have just tuned in, is closed. They announced yesterday they're laying off, firing half of their staff, 50% literally. And then today, for security reasons, the building is closed. We had our own conversation in hour one about why we think that is the case. I won't go back in the hour one conversation, but Congress isn't stopping him. Donald Trump, the executive branch to be more exact, does not have the authority to do what they're doing with these federal layoffs, these firings. They don't have the authority. Congress controls these agencies. And so Congress is sitting back doing nothing, of course, controlled by Republicans, and they're ceding their authority, the legislative branch is, to the executive branch. And so Donald Trump is getting away with it, at least for the moment. How, in this instance, are they getting away with this, David?
Well, it remains to be seen whether they will, in fact, get away with it. It's quite possible that the administration is breaking the law, and that's why they're being challenged in court. And this administration is being vigorously challenged in court at every turn. And the litigation process takes a certain amount of time, but so far, across the board, this administration is not predominantly winning in court.
Right.
So it remains to be seen whether it will get away with it. People break the law, and then they get caught, and then they get prosecuted and punished or sued in civil court.
Yeah.
That takes time to resolve. So you're correct that, if Congress does not act as a check, then we have to look to the third branch of the government, which is the judiciary, to provide a check, and we look ultimately to the people to provide a check through civil society. But in this case, yes, this is not the first time that the government has arrested or prosecuted someone in violation of their constitutional rights, whether in immigration court or otherwise. And we have a process to resolve that, and I hope it will be quickly resolved, and I hope that Mr. Khalil will be released. If the government wants to pursue removal proceedings, we are a nation of laws, not a nation of whims. There is a process in immigration court. If the government claims probable cause to begin removal proceedings, well, that can play itself out in immigration court, and then Mr. Khalil or anyone else has the right to seek review in federal court.
So the question we're going to tackle when we come forward here is what Mahmoud Khalil's case has to do with you. Let me just tease you a bit. There are some of us who believe, and I am one of them, that this may be one of the greatest threats to free speech since the Red Scare. Put another way, Trump and the Republicans love free speech as long as it agrees with them. So we'll talk about what this has to do with you when we come forward with David Lloyd on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
Do you enjoy fatty foods, sweets, and alcohol? Who doesn't? Unfortunately, all those things put a lot of pressure on our liver. That's why pharmacist, best-selling author, and nutritional expert Sherry Torkos recommends Active Liver from New Nordic.
The liver is an incredible organ. It works non-stop to process toxins and chemicals from our food and drinks, medications we take, and even environmental exposures. As a health expert, I'm often asked how to support the liver's natural detoxification process and offset the effects of fatty foods, sugar, and alcohol. I recommend Active Liver by New Nordic. This gentle plant-based supplement is an effective way to support your liver's vital functions as well as your energy and overall well-being.
With its powerful blend of turmeric, milk thistle, and globe artichoke extract, Active Liver is the perfect way to keep your liver healthy and you feeling your best. Active Liver is available in both a delicious gummy or tablet. You can find Active Liver in the vitamin aisle at your local CVS or online at Amazon or newnordicusa.com.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to announce that like George and Weezy,
We're moving on now.
earlier this year, we were named a semifinalist for the American Climate Leadership Awards 2025. Wait for it. Wait for it.
You ready?
KBLA Talk 1580 was recently selected as one of 10 finalists being considered for this prestigious award. Hundreds of organizations, institutions, and even cities were nominated in the selection process. But KBLA Talk 1580 has made it to the finals. You're invited to watch live on Wednesday, April 16th. At 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central, as Eco America announces the winner and the runner-up, awarding over $200,000 in prize money. To watch live, just go to ecoamerica.org to register and attend the online ceremony. That's ecoamerica.org. Don't miss the presentation of the American Climate Leadership Awards 2025, Wednesday, April 16th, and wish us luck. Caring about the climate, caring about the community, changing the conversation. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black. Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
Conversation with David Lloyd continues right now, First Amendment Coalition Legal Director, who I'm honored to have on this program as we talk about the future of free speech in this country in light of the Trump administration's arrest of Columbia University protester Mahmoud Khalil. So this is really thin. Put another way, it's flat to my mind, David. But the argument that we've seen so far, although they've offered no proof of this, but they've suggested that while he was a protester at Columbia University, they've tried to make the connection to Hamas, that he was engaged in this protest somehow in connection with Hamas. They're a terrorist organization, and if you're doing anything in coordination, in conjunction with a terrorist organization, we have the right to deport you. Again, it's thin, it's flat, really, but that's the argument they've been trying to make. What do you make of that argument, although they've given no evidence to support that?
Well, first, I'll say that insinuation is not evidence, as you noted.
Right.
Second, the First Amendment guarantees the right to advocate one's point of view, and it guarantees the right to object to government policy and to protest government policy. And let's say, for example, that someone protests and says, end the occupation of Gaza, stop the war. That is free speech. Now, the fact that Hamas might hypothetically want the same thing independently of your protest does not mean you're a terrorist. It means you're advocating your point of view and you're exercising your freedom of speech. The Soviet Union was against racism and promoted, aligned with the civil rights movement, perhaps for its own ends. But the fact that civil rights protesters objected to racism and Jim Crow did not make them communists, even though the government tried to say otherwise. And we've seen this historically, right? The government labels people and names people communists or terrorists or anti-Semitic whenever it objects to their freedom of speech. It slanders them and tars them with this brush in an attempt to silence their freedom of speech. And the fact that the government doesn't like what you have to say does not make you a terrorist. Yeah. If one actually gave money to Hamas, if one gave weapons to Hamas, that would, of course, be a different matter. But there is absolutely zero evidence that Mr. Khalil did any of that. All that's been all the publicly available information suggests that he was simply exercising his right to freedom of speech. Now, if the government has evidence, it can produce that evidence in court. We are a nation, as I said, a nation of laws and due process. But they need to put up or shut up. This is not trial by press release or press conference.
It seems to me at this moment, if we accept David Loy, I'm talking now about the Trump administration, if we accept their definition of anti-Semitism, if we accept their definition of tyranny, if we accept either of those or both of those definitions, then there are a whole lot of us who are guilty right now. It won't just be Mahmoud Khalil. I'm guilty. A whole lot of folk I know are guilty. If we accept their definitions, I'm looking at a few people right now in the studio who are guilty. We're all guilty. If we accept those definitions, how do you read that? What does that mean?
So the First Amendment guarantees the right to exercise freedom of speech. The First Amendment guarantees the right to advocate, to protest, to criticize, to dissent. And, there is no so-called anti-Semitism exception or communism exception to the First Amendment. Even if, let's say one is genuinely anti-Semitic or racist and states that point of view. I might personally find that point of view repugnant, but the First Amendment guarantees the right to exercise your freedom of speech, and the government does not get to play favorites between different people stating different points of view. That is what the First Amendment is all about. The government can prosecute actual crimes. If someone commits a crime, if someone breaks into a building or someone commits an assault or someone steals money or someone, gives money to a terrorist organization or gives weapons to a terrorist organization, that's a different matter. But simply exercising one's freedom of speech is protected by the First Amendment, and the government does not get to evade the First Amendment, or should not be allowed to evade the First Amendment, simply by labeling someone as, an anti-Semite or a terrorist or a racist or a communist or, pick your epithet du jour. That is why we have a First Amendment. And, every assault on every movement for social justice begins with freedom of speech, and every attack on a movement begins with an attack on their right to speak and protest and dissent. Now, I'm not taking a position one way or the other, who's right, who's wrong
Sure.
on the war in Gaza. That's why we have a First Amendment, to allow civil society to have that debate. And the government does not get to prosecute and punish people simply because it does not like what they have to say.
So
we fought for decades, for centuries, for this free speech right, and we need to be vigilant and not go backward in time to a time when the government was locking people up because it didn't like what they had to say.
Yep. Again, no naivete here, but I have my own point of view, but I'm curious to get your point of view, David. What is, to your mind, the end and aim? What's the objective of the Trump administration in this particular case? What are they really trying to get at? What are they trying to get at? What are they trying to prove? What are they trying to advance? What are they trying to reframe? Pick your word, but what's the goal here?
Well, I'm not a mind reader, and I'm certainly not going to try to speculate what people are thinking, but the net effect of their actions is to silence, chill, and deter freedom of speech. Mm-hmm. And I want to say, historically, non-citizens have always been the canary in the coal mine of civil liberties, right? Whether it's in the United States or in any other country, governments that want to crack down on free speech, crack down on civil liberties, crack down on freedom, they almost always target non-citizens first. And that is why all of us should be deeply alarmed here. What this administration is doing is acting like an autocracy. It is acting like it wants to be an authoritarian government. It is not acting like a government that respects the law, that respects freedom, that respects civil liberties and constitutional rights. And I think it's incumbent on all of us, whatever our political persuasion, we should stand up and defend the principles that make it possible to have freedom of speech and have a nation of laws and not a nation of whims. And there are, individuals and organizations across the political spectrum, even, for example, some Jewish organizations that recognize, they may or may not agree with Mr. Khalil's position, but they correctly recognize that what this administration is doing is a threat to everyone's freedom by asserting the right to lock someone up because you don't like what they have to say. And that is a threat to all of us, whether that transcends whatever disagreements one has over policy with respect to the war in Gaza or anywhere else.
This represents a turn for me, not a turn that was unexpected or unpredictable, but it represents a turn for me because what we've seen so far from Donald Trump, as you know, David, is his going after media organizations. He went after ABC. They bent the knee, paid the $16 million. Meta bent the knee, paid the $25 million. The CBS matter is still ongoing. My sense is they're going to bend the knee and they're going to make a payment. He's threatened others. We saw, again, I've said many times, Mark Thompson, I believe is his name, the head of CNN, tell Anderson and Jake and the others, don't be going in on Donald Trump on these airwaves. There's so many examples of that I could give if I had the time. But we are seeing my industry, which is sad to me, bend the knee in many respects to this administration because they're afraid of Donald Trump going after them. We saw Jeff Bezos say the other day that his opinion pages at the Washington Post will only be to advance notions of free enterprise. We saw a longtime columnist at the Washington Post resign earlier this week. She's been there 40 years at the Washington Post. She resigned earlier this week because she wrote a column that took offense to what Jeff Bezos did, and the editor would not run her piece. So she stepped away from the Washington Post. So we see the media, the national media, bending the knee because they're afraid of Trump coming after them. Here's the turn. Trump is now going after everyday people, going after individuals. To your point, they always start with somebody, an immigrant first, and they set the frame, and then they come after the rest of us. That's a long way of asking, if in fact they are successful here, what does this mean not for big media? What does this mean for everyday people?
Yeah, a threat to one person's freedom is a threat to everyone's freedom. A threat to one person's freedom of speech is a threat to everyone's freedom of speech. And you're right that it does certainly look like some in the media and some in business are bending the knee, but not everyone.
Right.
The Associated Press is fighting the administration in court right now as we speak. When the Trump administration retaliated against the Associated Press for not bending the knee on calling it the Gulf of America instead of Gulf of Mexico and kicked them out of the press pool, the AP is fighting back, and they are in court. Others are fighting back. Many people are fighting back in the streets, in town halls, in courthouses around the country. And I think we are in a fight for the soul of this country. You're absolutely right. And yes, autocracy depends on acquiescence. And those who acquiesce facilitate autocracy. Those who fight back, resist autocracy. And yes, this is not a new fight for this country. It has taken a new form, but in one form or another, there has always been this fight in this country for the soul of the country. Is it for freedom and justice and equality, or is it for autocracy and authority? Or once upon a time, it was for slavery. Yeah. It was for subjugation. There has always been this fight in this country between freedom, justice, and equality, and subjugation and domination on the other hand.
No, so, you're right about that. First of all, before I comment on that, let me just say I love that line. We've had two great lines already on today's program. Autocracy depends on acquiescence. That's a great line, courtesy of David Lloyd. The first time I use it, David, I will actually give you attribution. After that, it's mine. But I love the phrase autocracy.
I borrowed it from someone else.
Fair enough. That's generally how it works. Somebody once told me that, what was the line? That the mediocre borrow, the great ones steal. The mediocre borrow, but the great ones steal. I love that. Autocracy depends on acquiescence. I hear your point. This historically, you're right about this. No question about it. That we've had these fights. These fights about free speech have ebbed and flowed all throughout our history. But there are two things, at least two things that come to mind right now, David, that make this moment different for me. And I want to take your temperature on this. In no particular order, number one, I keep reading data points in a variety of ways that suggest to me that many people are just fatigued right now. They're fatigued in this fight. And part of it is that Donald Trump, and this is part of their strategy, as you know, is rolling so fast. Every day it's a new executive order, if not multiple executive orders. The way they are strategizing to just take the wind out of our sails. There are many people in certain data points I'm looking at that suggest to me that we're just fatigued right now. The second thing is that the Democrats are lost, and that's as charitable and as generous as I can be, that the Democrats are lost. And I don't mean to make you political in your nonprofit work, but the point is that those two things are as real as rain for me, that the Democrats have not yet figured this out, how to fight back, and the rest of us, many of us seem to be fatigued in the fight. And so into that vacuum steps a guy like Donald Trump, who takes advantage of all of that and starts to chip away at free speech, the most sacred right that we have, certainly one of the most sacred rights. That's the frame I think we're in, and that's scary, David Lloyd, to me.
You should be scared. We should all be scared. This is a very serious fight. I don't mean to minimize it. I think it's an ongoing chapter, in the eternal struggle for freedom in this country. It's a struggle we've been waging, since the day that, people first enslaved other human beings and brought them to the shore of this country and forced them to work as slaves. We've been fighting for freedom ever since. Well, some have been fighting for freedom. Some have been fighting for slavery. But, it took us, there was the abolition movement. Then there was the Civil War and Reconstruction and Jim Crow, and then the Second Reconstruction, and now the backlash to the Second Reconstruction. If we take the historical view, we are, you're absolutely right. It is a frightening time. The Trump administration, in many ways, represents, a backlash to the historical movement for freedom, justice, and equality. And that just transcends politics and political parties. And as you said, I work for a 501c3, so I'm not endorsing one political party or another. I'm standing for the principles, and particularly the principle of freedom of speech, which is the oxygen of civil society. It is the oxygen of social justice. Whatever your political perspective, we cannot have a civil society. We cannot have these debates without freedom of speech. It is the right. It is the one right which makes all of our other rights possible. And it is, and yes, people are tired, and they should be tired. I understand that. I'm tired. We're all tired. But if we take the long view, the people who came before us were tired. The people who stood up for abolition of slavery, who stood up for the women's right to vote, who stood up for equal suffrage. Yes, it's okay to be tired. We still have to get up and keep fighting, and honor those who came before us, who paved the way to make it possible for us to do this.
Hold on to that line, ladies and gentlemen. Autocracy depends on acquiescence. Autocracy depends on acquiescence. That line, courtesy of the legal director of First Amendment Coalition, David Lloyd, who I've been honored to have had on this program. And again, I'm asking you, as I said yesterday, keep your eye on this case of Mahmoud Khalil. There are lessons for all of us if Donald Trump succeeds in this regard. Mr. Lloyd, thank you for your work and your witness, sir. Good to have you on this program.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
My great honor. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like to check your sunroof is closed first before driving through the car wash.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, no. Wait, whoa.
Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. Attention is shifting to former Vice President Kamala Harris as the California governor race heats up. Former Congresswoman Katie Porter announced her candidacy to succeed term-limited Governor Gavin Newsom. The NTSB updated on the January midair collision between an Army helicopter and an American Airlines jet, which killed 67 people. Over 15,000 close proximity events occurred near Reagan National Airport from 2021 to 2024. The FAA is advised to limit certain helicopter operations over the Potomac River. Former NBA player and Black billionaire entrepreneur Junior Bridgman has passed away at the age of 71 after a medical emergency. He played for the Milwaukee Bucks and LA Clippers and built a fast food empire with over 450 restaurants. And TikTok is introducing new safety features for younger users, allowing parents to limit screen time. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Let Express Employment Professionals help you hire for contract or full-time jobs. Forget about recruiting, sifting through resumes, and interviews with unqualified applicants. Go to expresspros.com to find the location near you. That's expresspros.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers' three-game winning streak ended Tuesday night with a 127-120 loss at New Orleans. Second straight game, the Clippers had to play without head coach Ty Lue. Lue is suffering with back pain. The NBA family lost an ultimate role model on Tuesday. Junior Bridgman, who the Lakers traded in 1975 to acquire a player named Kareem Abdul-Jabbar from Milwaukee, passed away after suffering a medical emergency while attending an event in Louisville. Bridgman was 71. Bridgman played the last 2 seasons of his 12-year NBA career with the Clippers. The real story about Bridgman is what he did after basketball. He never made more than $350,000 a year in his career, but he became a billionaire after building a fast food empire. In February, Forbes magazine listed Bridgman's net worth as more than $1.4 billion. More on the outstanding legacy of Junior Bridgman this afternoon. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, your sports connection here at KBLA Talk 1580. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough every Saturday night at 7 for Out of Bounds, the show that brings some flavor to the world of sports for 60 minutes. We take you beyond the scores and press conferences. We give you our point of view, the way black folks see what's going down. You can join the conversation and give us your analysis at 1-800-920-1580. Out of Bounds every Saturday night at 7 on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
You like your style, though.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Need better hot water? Water Heaters Only makes replacing your water heater easy. With one call and great pricing, Water Heaters Only can have you back in hot water the same day, within hours of your call. Visit waterheatersonly.com. That's waterheatersonly.com.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
Many of the 39 BLM grassroots chapters across the nation are participating in this honoring of the memory of Breonna Taylor on the anniversary of her death. This BLMLA event is taking place on Sunday, March 16th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Norman Houston Park, 4800 South La Brea in Los Angeles, the park at the summit. For special parking options and more information, visit blmla.org or go to BLM Los Angeles on Instagram. Say her name, Breonna Taylor, and join us in loving on Black women. Happy Women's History Month from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
You are indeed. I'm glad about it. A conversation now with the Senior Vice President of Programming at Radio 1 and Reach Media, Colby Kolb, to talk about Urban One's new podcast called Altadena After the Fire, chronicling the aftermath and Altadena's determination to rise from the ashes. Before the dialogue with Colby Kolb, here now the trailer for the new podcast, Altadena After the Fire.
In January 2025, the Eaton Fire devastated Altadena, California, a community rich in Black history and culture. The blaze destroyed over 9,400 structures, with more than 7,000 homes, schools, and businesses lost in Altadena alone. This catastrophe has profoundly impacted a neighborhood that has long stood as a symbol of Black progress and resilience.
This is my home. This is my home. And my home is gone.
Altadena After the Fire is an Urban One podcast dedicated to chronicling the community's journey toward recovery. Each episode provides up-to-date information from our partners in the Los Angeles area, offering in-depth interviews and on-the-ground reporting. We will explore personal stories of loss and survival, examine the environmental and political factors contributing to the disaster, and discuss ongoing efforts to rebuild. Our mission is to keep you informed about Altadena's fight to restore normalcy while preserving its rich cultural heritage. And you may be asking, how can I help? Urban One is supporting the Brotherhood Crusades Wildlife Relief Fund, which aims to assist residents and businesses in Altadena and Pasadena affected by the Eaton Fire. Your donations will provide essential resources such as food, medicine, and other necessities to families in need. To contribute and make a difference, please visit urban1cares.com. I'm your host, Colby Kolb. Tune in to Altadena After the Fire to understand the true cost of the fires and witness the unwavering strength of a community determined to rise from the ashes.
I am pleased to say that my home station here in Southern California, KBLA Talk 1580, is one of those partners. You heard Colby Kolb reference just a moment ago. I am thrilled that Urban One has created this podcast that will be heard around the nation, indeed around the world. Again, we're pleased to contribute to it, but it means something when a network with the imprint of Reach Media decides to focus its spotlight on an issue like the uprising, or the rise up, I should say. It's been a little bit of both, uprising about what happened and a rising up to rebuild. So it's been a little bit of both here in Southern California, but I'm delighted to have Colby Kolb on this program right now to talk about the podcast. Kolb, it's been a long time, man. It's good to hear your voice. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Tavis, and good morning in Los Angeles and the world. Thank you for having me, man. How you doing?
I'm well, man. If I complained, I'd be an ingrate. Good to hear your voice, and I appreciate the work that you and the team are doing. I certainly want to thank Alfred Liggins and my longtime friend, his mother, Kathy Hughes, for building this company, for starters, and the work that they're doing in this regard. Tell me about the podcast and why it was important enough for Urban One to take this up.
Well, it's interesting, Tavis. So we have a committee of employees here in our philanthropic arm, Urban One Cares, and it's different employees from different parts of the company, whether it be TV One, Interactive One, Radio One, Reach Media. And we were trying to come up with some ideas to help the people in Los Angeles. And I have a lot of friends in the LA area. And I didn't even know a lot about Altadena. I had actually been there before, didn't realize I was in this community, and I learned so much about the community. So we were having a conversation with Miss H, we just misused, and we were talking, and I said, you know, when Katrina happened in Louisiana, we didn't really have a vehicle to chronicle, like, the cleanup afterwards. And we have a podcast network, the Urban One Podcast Network, and we have, hundreds of podcasts in this network that we use our platforms to promote. And I said, what if we created a podcast that would be sort of like a check-in on the rebuild or update on whatever's happening in Los Angeles post the fire, A, so that we can inform people around the country what was going on, but B, we could catch things in real time that are happening that the world needs to know about. And sure enough, We changed administrations, and the news media went away, and not a lot of people were talking about what was going on in Altadena. And this podcast will now be a place where we'll be able to share that information. And I'm imploring the people that can hear my voice, if there are people that have a story to tell and want to be on the podcast, we will be open to anybody who wants to be on to talk about what's going on in the community there.
Yes, I mentioned that we have our own program here in Southern California called Conversation Live, Altadena Rising. We've already started sharing content, contributing content to this Urban One podcast, Altadena After the Fire. So certainly want to do our part to make sure the stories that we're telling here locally that we share again with Colby and his team. But you made a powerful point a moment ago that people have short memories, and their memories are really short when it comes to black suffering. What say you then about the need for a podcast like this, if for no other reason, to make sure that people don't forget about these historic black neighborhoods in Altadena?
Well, Tavis, the thing that struck me the most about this tragedy was the black wealth that is built up in these homes. And I feel for these people, because I get it. You worked your life to get a house, pay it off, and to live in the community in Los Angeles is one of the most expensive places to live in America, right? But if you own your home, you have a bit of an advantage. But if your home is gone and you have to rebuild your home, that is almost impossible for a large amount of people that have houses there. And so that really, really stuck with me. And I have a really good friend. In the first episode, I interviewed this brother named Tawala Sharp, who was a fellow media person I met in over the years of my career. And he thankfully didn't lose his home, but he is one of 5 houses on this block that he lives on that survived, yet the house is inhabitable. And the insurance company is like, oh, yeah, we'll dry clean your clothes. But the chemicals and the smoke damage, it's basically impossible for his family to live there, right? So, there's so many stories like that to be told. And then he talks about his neighbors, and that he grew up in Altadena, and all of the people that have been affected by it. And most importantly, don't forget us, is what he was saying. Like, please don't forget us. And so the purpose of this podcast is that we will not forget. We will tell the story. We will share this information around the world. And I'm imploring people to adopt families, to help them if you can afford it, to, any resource that we can provide so that we can build that community back up. We cannot allow that community to die. We have to give that community life.
2 things come to mind while you're talking, Cole. One is, and this is a factoid that most people don't know, but every time I talk about Altadena, I make sure that I raise this point, because there's so many tentacles that offshoot this one simple but powerful factoid. More than 80%, or right at 80%, of the black residents of Altadena were homeowners. And that fact didn't really resonate with people until after these fires. I do not know of another community anywhere in this country, a black community, where 80% of the residents, the black residents, are homeowners. That's a high bar. And even if you find communities maybe in Prince George's County or in the Baldwin Hills, View Park, Ladera Heights area of Southern California, these are the 2 areas, the 2 black enclaves that always alternate between 1 and 2 in terms of black wealth, the phrase that Colby used earlier. The number may be similar in those areas, but these are really high net worth areas, and the folk there have not been there for generations like they've been in Altadena. So this is generational in Altadena, and 80% of them, these black folk, are homeowners. That stat just jumps out at me every time I think about it. The other part that comes to me as Colby is talking, which I want to talk about when we come forward here, is that he's not just chronicling what happens after the fire, but as he mentioned earlier, there's a fundraising piece of this. There's another arm of this to pool resources to help these persons. We'll talk about that part when we come forward with Colby talking about the new Urban One podcast series called Altadena After the Fire. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
This is an ad by BetterHelp. Think about your mentors and idols, the people who inspire you the most. While it may look like they have all the answers, they don't. But they do know when to ask questions and seek the support they need. In a world that glorifies hyper-independence, it's easy to forget that we're all better with a support system. Therapy is a great way to find a consistent source of support in your life, so you can break free from the outdated belief that seeking help is a sign of weakness. BetterHelp has experienced therapists ready to help you with challenges ranging from anxiety and depression to relationships and stress. It's convenient, too. You can join a session with the click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. You can even send your therapist a message anytime something comes up. Build your support system with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/ABCRadio today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/ABCRadio.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up.
Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley talking to Colby Kolb of Urban One, Reach Media, and this new podcast, Urban One podcast, called Altadena After the Fire. We'll talk about the fact that Kolb is actually voicing this thing himself. He's producing it and voicing it himself, which means you know he's invested in this. But I want to talk about the fundraising piece of this, which you referenced earlier. I don't know that you've been to my studio here, our offices here in Leimert Park, Kolb, but it turns out that the Brotherhood Crusade literally is right across the street from us. I mean, I literally can throw a rock and hit it. I wouldn't do that, but literally the Brotherhood Crusade is right across the street. I'm on one side of Crenshaw. They're on the other side of Crenshaw. They're literally my neighbors right across the street. They are the partner that you've chosen to work with. Tell me about the fundraising piece of this.
Well, we definitely wanted some sort of reliable partner that could help distribute any funds that we raise that is built right into the community. So I really want to thank the Brotherhood Crusade for partnering with us, and they're doing so much day to day just to help people in the community. And in the second episode of the podcast, I interview Sharice Vermont, who's the CEO, and she talks a lot about what they are doing in the community and a lot about the things that people aren't talking about, right? So they're seeing it firsthand. They're able to help people. In fact, I was able to get a few people that I knew connected with them so that they could get some general help. And that was the reason why we decided to partner with them, because we knew that they were embedded and that we are really working hand in hand, and we will use our resources to build awareness, and they are in the front lines, and they'll be able to help folks from a day-to-day perspective.
Yeah, Sharice is doing great work at Brother Crusade, has for some decades now. She's been there running that thing for a while. Her father, Walter, I believe, started it. And she's taking the reins and doing an amazing job. And again, just funny that they're right across the street from where we are right now. As I mentioned a moment ago, you have chosen, you run the programming department, so you could have assigned somebody else this task. Why did you choose to do this yourself?
Because I just felt like, Tavis, I'm glad you asked me that. I still have a really bad feeling inside of me about Katrina. I just feel like, man, that was just a moment in history. Yeah. And when I was a new program director in Philadelphia. This is my hometown.
Right.
When Katrina happened, and my general manager at the time was from New Orleans, and he had to bring a whole bunch of his family to Philadelphia to live with him because their house was gone. And I remember we had fundraisers, and we did an actual broadcast at the Love Statue. If you ever come to Philadelphia, there's a Love Statue. We did a whole broadcast with all of our radio stations. We raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then it was like that was it, and there was nothing else after that. And then I saw Spike Lee's documentary about Katrina and just the after effects, and again, that's what came up in this meeting. I was like, man, we need to chronicle what's happening and make a long-term commitment. And listen, we're not paying anybody here, so Tavis, like, we're all doing this on our own time, in addition to all of the jobs that we have. And I just felt like I needed to be a part of it, and I needed to spearhead it. And I'm counting on all of our partners to provide. Like, I want to say hello to Dominique DePrimo on your station. Like, in the second episode, we actually go back to the day that it happened and play in real time what was going on in the community. And she did a phenomenal job that day, just explaining to the audience, from a safety perspective, but also, what you needed to do and how you needed to protect yourself and your family. So I wanted us to just do more. I just felt like we had this powerful profile of radio stations and TV One. If you watch TV One, you'll see the QR code on the screen several times an hour that just tells you about this project and how you can donate. And we wanted to make sure our people, our community around the country, was just as engaged as possible and not forget what is happening there because God forbid that could be your community. Oh, no. You just never know.
No question about it. As I said earlier, we are delighted. I'm glad you referenced Dominique, and glad to know she's in episode 2. We'll keep feeding stories from our work here with Dominique and with James Farr on Conversation Live. Altadena Rising. We'll keep feeding what we can to this new Urban One podcast series called Altadena After the Fire, hosted by Kobe Kobe. Our remaining moments with him when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stopped, opt out. Individual results may vary. Consult a doctor prior to use.
You've lost so much weight. How'd you do it?
I got medical treatment for weight loss through Zelty and lost 50 pounds. I struggled for the longest time, but Zelty makes it easy and affordable to get weight loss treatment 100% online. Zelty providers can prescribe FDA-approved weight loss medications clinically shown to help people lose weight, like Wegovy, Zepbound, and others.
I've heard those medications can help you lose weight, but aren't they expensive?
Zelty can help get the medication covered by insurance, so it's as little as $0 a month.
What if you don't have insurance?
No problem. Zelty may be able to help you get other GLP-1 medications for 80 to 90% off the price of name brand medications.
I'm ready to start losing weight. How do I get started with Zelty?
Just text.
Text SUNNY to 200-300 to get started today with Zelty and see if weight loss medications like Wegovy and Zepbound are right for you. Don't wait. Text now for a link to your exclusive offer. Text SUNNY to 200-300. That's SUNNY to 200-300. SUNNY to 200-300.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cal Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Made fresh daily in Leimert Park,
Los Angeles, California.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Colby Kolb. I got 3 minutes left here in this conversation. I want to do two things. Let me start by saying that I want to close by asking Colby how you can tap in, I should say, and check out the weekly podcast. We'll let him do that at the very end. But I want to just ask this final question here right quick here, Kolb, and that is, what say you about the importance of black media in critical moments like these? I don't even mean just the politics of what's happening in Washington. I just mean that you and I both made the point that I'm doing what we're doing here locally in LA. You're doing this thing nationally because both of us understand that, again, people have short memories, and if we don't chronicle this story, it may not get chronicled. Say a quick word, if you will, about the importance of black media in moments like these.
Well, I will tell you the irony of this moment, Tavis, is if you know anything about the civil rights era, which you do, you know all about it, black radio was the key to information and communication during those times. Mm-hmm. And I think we forget that. And I think people don't realize how powerful we are as a black medium and how our audience trusts us and utilize us for information to whatever's going on in the world. So now is going to be a time where whatever is left of us, which we are the largest African-American broadcasting company in the country, we will be committed to serving our listeners and giving them information. And this moment in time is a great example of why we have to stick together. It's almost like the churches in the South, and there were meetings in the churches in all the South, and that's the churches helped organize folks during the civil rights era. Well, we're going to help organize and communicate with our platform.
I close by asking how people can tap into this new podcast series from Urban One called Altadena After the Fire. Colby Kolb.
It's available wherever you get your podcast. Just search Altadena After the Fire. And also, if there are stories that need to be told that I need to know about, that I need to share, that you would like to share on this podcast, you can reach out to me on Instagram at official Colby Kolb, or you can listen to the podcast and go to the show notes, and there are ways that you can communicate directly with me via email. But I'm open for any kind of story, specifically the rebuild and any issue that may go down with that. If they're trying to steal houses or land, if there is something going on with the city and they're not doing what they're supposed to do, let's tell the story.
Colby Kolb, I've known for decades now, and I met him years ago in Philadelphia, his hometown. He was doing great work then. Still doing great work now as the Senior Vice President of Programming at Radio 1 and Reach Media. The new podcast from Urban One is called Altadena After the Fire, hosted by Colby Kolb. Kolb, appreciate you, man. Good to have you on this program, and congrats on the work, and glad to be of support in the ways that we can, sir.
Thanks for being a great partner, Tavis, and for the interview. Appreciate you.
Thank you, sir. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
People. Over 15,000 close proximity events occurred near Reagan National Airport from 2020.